Welcome to Tales for Learners. One tiny habit changed everything. It started on a cold morning when I woke up feeling tired of my own excuses. You know that feeling, right? When you wake up and already feel behind before the day even begins. I looked at my phone, scrolled through messages, and thought, maybe today will be better. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't. Because I was doing nothing different. That day, I didn't know that a small habit, something that took just 5 minutes, would completely change my life, my confidence, and even the way I spoke English. This story isn't just about success. It's about transformation through the smallest act of consistency. I remember it was Sunday morning. I had no plans, no motivation, and no idea what I wanted to do. My room was messy. My thoughts were messy too. I made coffee, sat near the window, and watched people walking with purpose. I wondered, how do they look so focused? What are they doing differently? Then, by chance, I opened a video on my phone. The speaker said just one line that hit me hard. He said, "If you win your morning, you win your day." I paused the video and repeated that line out loud. If you win your morning, you win your day. It sounded simple, but something clicked. So I made a promise to myself. Tomorrow morning, I'll try something new, just one small habit. I didn't know it then, but that single decision was the turning point of my story. The next day, I woke up at 6. My body wanted to sleep more. My mind whispered, 5 more minutes. But I pushed myself out of bed. I decided to spend just 5 minutes reading something positive. In English. It was difficult at first. I could barely focus. My eyes were still sleepy, and half the words didn't make sense. But I kept reading, slowly, line by line. I didn't realize it, but I was already training my brain to think differently. Now let's learn some expressions from this story so far. Hit me hard means something made a strong emotional impact on you. For example, her words hit me hard and I realized I needed to change. 5 more minutes. This phrase is used when we delay doing something, often sleep. Example, every morning I tell myself, just 5 more minutes. Turning point, a moment when everything starts to change. Example, meeting my teacher was the turning point of my English journey. Try repeating them slowly. Hit me hard. 5 more minutes. Turning point. Okay, let's go back to the story. As days passed, my new habit started to grow roots. I kept reading every morning. Short stories, motivational quotes, sometimes even English news. But here's the secret. I wasn't just reading words. I was absorbing ideas. When you start your morning with something that feeds your mind, your entire day feels lighter. I noticed I became calmer. Even when things went wrong later in the day, I didn't react the same way. I thought maybe this is what they mean by winning the morning. After a week, something magical happened. I started enjoying it. That 5-minute habit slowly turned into 15, and I didn't stop there. I started writing one sentence each morning in English about what I felt grateful for. The first sentence I ever wrote was simple. I am grateful for this coffee. Sounds small, right? But it made me smile. That smile became my fuel. The more I wrote, the more my thoughts became positive. And the more positive I became, the more confident I felt when speaking English. Let me explain something interesting here. When you read and write daily in English, your brain starts connecting words emotionally, not just logically. That's why this habit doesn't just improve your English, it changes your mindset. Let's practice some phrases from this part. Grow roots means something becomes stable or consistent. Example, my morning habit began to grow roots after 2 weeks. Feeds your mind means something gives your brain positive energy or knowledge. Example, reading books feeds your mind better than scrolling social media. My fuel means your source of motivation or energy. Example, helping others is my fuel for working hard. Repeat after me, grow roots. Feeds your mind, my fuel. Now back to the story. One morning, something unexpected happened. As I was reading my usual short story, my younger sister walked into the room and said, "Why do you always read in English? Isn't it hard?" I smiled and said, "It was hard at first, but now it feels like brushing my teeth. It's just part of my day." She laughed and replied, "You sound weird, but maybe I'll try it too." That small conversation made me realize something powerful. When you change yourself silently, others start to notice. You don't need to show off your progress. Your energy shows it for you. Days turned into weeks. Some mornings, I didn't feel like reading or writing, but I reminded myself, habits are not built on feelings, they're built on repetition. Even on bad days, I told myself one simple sentence, just 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes often became 20 without me noticing. Because once you start, your brain begins to enjoy the calm. Let's learn a few more useful English phrases here. Part of my day means something you do regularly, part of your routine. Example, listening to English podcasts is part of my day. Show off means to display something just to get attention. Example, he likes to show off his new phone. Built on repetition means something becomes strong when done repeatedly. Example, confidence is built on repetition, not luck. Try saying them aloud. Part of my day. Show off. Built on repetition. Now let's reflect a little. Why do small habits change big things? Because small habits don't scare your brain. They feel easy, manageable, safe, but when repeated daily, they create massive results. It's like planting a tiny seed every morning. You don't see growth instantly, but deep under the surface, something magical is happening. Roots are forming, strength is building. In time, that seed grows into a tree, strong, steady, and alive. And every leaf of that tree represents the moments you didn't give up. That's how this habit changed my life. Not because it made me fluent in English overnight, but because it made me disciplined, mindful, and focused. And as my discipline grew, my confidence followed. That's when I began to notice something new. I started thinking in English without trying. My brain was naturally forming sentences because it was exposed to the language daily. This was the hidden power of my secret habit. It wasn't about learning English. It was about becoming the kind of person who learns consistently. Let's review the new expressions before we move to the next part. Hit me hard. Made a strong emotional impact. Turning point. Moment when everything changes. Grow roots. Become stable or consistent. Feeds your mind. Gives you positive energy or knowledge. My fuel. Your motivation or source of strength. Part of my day. A regular habit or routine. Show off. To seek attention by displaying something. Built on repetition. Becoming strong through practice. You can repeat them slowly to improve your pronunciation and memory. Now take a deep breath. Imagine your own morning. Imagine creating a 5-minute ritual that starts changing your mindset, your words, and your confidence. In the next part of this story, I'll tell you what happened when that small habit met a big challenge, and how one bad week almost broke everything I built. Part 2. The challenge week. A few weeks passed and my new morning habit felt natural. I was reading, writing, and even listening to short English podcasts before breakfast. Each day felt lighter, calmer, more controlled. I had built rhythm, but life, as it always does, decided to test me. It started with a phone call. My company announced a new project with tight deadlines. Suddenly, mornings became chaotic again. I had to leave earlier, sleep later, and every plan I had built began to shake. That first Monday, I skipped my morning reading. It's just one day, I told myself. Tuesday came and I skipped again. By Wednesday, I wasn't even thinking about my habit. I was too tired, too stressed, too busy. But something strange happened on Thursday. I felt off, not physically, but mentally. Even though I was working the same as before, I felt lost, scattered, unfocused. It felt like I had forgotten how to breathe calmly. That's when I realized something important. The habit I built wasn't just an English practice. It was my mental anchor. And without it, I was drifting. Let's pause and learn a few expressions from this story section. Felt off means something didn't feel right or normal. Example: I felt off all day because I skipped my morning routine. Mental anchor: something that keeps your mind steady or balanced. Example: writing every morning became my mental anchor during stressful days. Drifting means moving without direction or control. Example: without goals, I was just drifting through life. Repeat: felt off. Mental anchor: drifting. Now, back to the story. That Thursday evening, I sat at my desk and opened my journal, the one where I used to write my gratitude sentences. I hadn't written for a few days, but the empty page looked at me like a quiet friend waiting for me to return. So I picked up my pen and wrote, "I am grateful that I realized I need to start again. It felt good, like meeting an old friend. That one line reminded me that it's okay to fall, as long as you stand back up." The next morning, I woke up a little earlier. I told myself, just 5 minutes again. That's all it takes. I opened a short English passage. It was about resilience, the power to recover after challenges. The first line said, "A seed must push through darkness before it sees the light." That sentence hit me deeply. I thought about my own routine, my effort, my failures. Maybe the tough week wasn't a setback. It was the soil that would make my roots stronger. And you know what? I spoke that line out loud. A seed must push through darkness before it sees the light. That single English sentence became my mantra. Let's pause and learn from it. Mantra means a phrase or belief you repeat for motivation or focus. Example: my mantra is simple: progress, not perfection. Now listen carefully. There's a deep connection between language learning and self-growth. When you learn new words or repeat meaningful sentences, you aren't just memorizing, you are rewiring your brain. You start associating emotions with language, and that's when true learning happens. Every morning after that, I added one powerful English line to my notebook, a sentence that inspired me. Then I'd repeat it 3 times slowly, feeling its meaning. Here are a few lines I wrote that week. Consistency is greater than motivation. Every mistake teaches me something valuable. I am becoming fluent, one sentence at a time. You can use them too. Repeat after me slowly. Consistency is greater than motivation. Every mistake teaches me something valuable. I am becoming fluent, one sentence at a time. These aren't just words. They are reminders that growth is quiet, slow, but real. Now let's continue the story. By the end of that challenging week, I had learned one of the biggest lessons of my life. Success is not about perfection, it's about recovery. Anyone can be disciplined when life is easy. The real test comes when everything feels heavy, when you're tired, when your motivation disappears. But if you can still show up, even for 5 minutes, that's victory. Let's learn some related English phrases. Show up means to be present or do something even when it's hard. Example, even when I was tired, I showed up for my morning reading. Setback means a delay or problem that stops progress temporarily. Example, missing a few days of practice was just a small setback. Real test means the true challenge that reveals your strength. Example, staying calm under pressure is the real test of confidence. Repeat after me. Show up, setback, real test. One evening during that week, I remember sitting alone after finishing work. I was exhausted. My eyes were heavy and my thoughts were cloudy. I wanted to relax, but instead of scrolling my phone, I opened my old notebook again. I began reading what I had written weeks ago. There was one entry that said, "I am proud of myself for starting." That single line made me emotional. I realized how easy it is to forget the progress we've made. Sometimes you don't need motivation. You just need to remember how far you've come. So, I made a new rule for myself. Every Sunday evening, I would review my week, not to criticize, but to appreciate. I called it my reflection time. During reflection time, I would write 2 things: what went well this week, what I will improve next week. It only took 10 minutes, but it made a huge difference. Because instead of guilt, I started feeling gratitude. Instead of self-doubt, I began seeing progress. Let's practice some phrases from this part. Reflection time means a moment to think and learn from experiences. Example, I spend 5 minutes in reflection time every Sunday night. Went well means something happened successfully. Example, my study routine went well this week. Self-doubt means lack of confidence or belief in yourself. Example, self-doubt stops many people from learning confidently. Repeat, reflection time, went well, self-doubt. After that week, I made a promise. No matter how busy life gets, I'll never miss my 5-minute ritual. It could be reading, writing, or listening, but I'll do something every single day. And that's how I learned that habits are like relationships. If you ignore them, they fade. If you nurture them, they grow. Your habit needs attention, not perfection. This was the turning point of the story, the moment when my habit stopped being a task and became part of who I was. It wasn't, I need to do this. It became, this is what I do. In English, that's a subtle but powerful shift. I need to learn English becomes, I learn English. I want to be confident becomes, I am confident. That small change in language changes your identity, because when you describe yourself differently, you behave differently. Let's end this part with a short practice. Repeat after me slowly. I learn English every day. I am confident when I speak. I am growing, even on hard days. I am proud of my effort. These affirmations sound simple, but when you say them daily, they reprogram your mind. Words build your world. Now, take a deep breath. Imagine yourself 1 year from now, consistent, confident, fluent, peaceful. You didn't reach there overnight. You built it one morning at a time. In the next part, I'll tell you what happened when this small habit began to influence my relationships, my emotions, and even my way of seeing success. The story goes deeper, and so does the learning. Part 3. The secret habit that changed my life. English story. Listening practice days passed, and the habit was growing stronger. Every night, Alex would repeat the same small action, writing 3 lines in English about his day. Sometimes it was simple. I woke up late, I drank coffee, I went to work. Other nights he wrote about his feelings. I felt tired, but I'm proud I didn't give up. Slowly, his sentences became longer. His thoughts flowed more freely. But he didn't know that something magical was already happening. One evening, while walking home from the office, Alex stopped at a small cafe. He ordered his usual coffee and sat by the window. The place was quiet, except for a soft song playing in English. Suddenly, Alex realized he could understand the lyrics. Not every word, but enough to know the meaning. For the first time, English didn't feel like a wall. It felt like a friend speaking softly to him. That night, Alex wrote in his journal, "I understood a song today. It felt amazing." He didn't celebrate, but deep inside something shifted. He smiled as he wrote those words, and his heart whispered, "Keep going." Weeks turned into months. The habit was no longer just a task. It had become part of his identity. He started waking up early to listen to short English stories. He didn't plan it. It just happened naturally. He began to think in English, even while doing everyday tasks. One morning, while making breakfast, he caught himself whispering in English, "The bread is almost ready. I should get some butter." He laughed. Talking to himself in English felt funny, but also powerful. Then came the next level. At work, a foreign client visited. Usually, Alex would stay quiet during meetings, letting others handle the English conversation. But this time, when the client asked, "Could you send me the latest report?" Alex replied without hesitation, "Yes, I'll send it before noon." His colleagues turned to look at him, surprised. The client smiled. "Great, thank you." Alex felt his face warm, but his heart raced with joy. That simple exchange, a few sentences, meant everything. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. That night he wrote in his journal again, "I spoke English at work today. I was nervous, but I did it. I'm proud." Now here's the key part. Alex didn't improve because of long hours of study. He improved because he showed up every day. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or one small action. That was enough to build momentum. This is the secret habit. Consistency, not intensity. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to do something. One small thing every day. Alex's small habit began with 3 lines in a notebook. Yours might be listening to this story each morning, or repeating one sentence until it feels natural, or describing what you see around you. The sky is clear. The coffee smells nice. The day feels new. These moments may feel small, but they shape your confidence. One day, you'll find yourself speaking English without fear, and you'll realize it wasn't a big jump. It was hundreds of small steps, taken quietly, every single day. Alex's habit also changed how he felt about mistakes. Before, he used to fear them. If someone corrected his pronunciation, he felt embarrassed. But over time, he began to see mistakes differently. Each one was proof of effort, not failure. When his friend Sarah told him, "Hey, it's not pronounced comfortable, it's comfortable," he didn't feel shy. He laughed and repeated after her, "Comfortable." That's when he realized something powerful. The people who improve are not those who never make mistakes, but those who never stop trying after making them. One evening, he went for a walk near the park. Children were playing, birds were chirping, and a soft breeze brushed his face. He sat on a bench and opened his small notebook. He wrote, English is no longer a subject. It's a friend I talk to. He looked up at the sky and smiled. He didn't need motivation anymore. The habit had become his nature. For English learners listening now, this is your turning point too. Don't wait for the perfect day to start. Start now. Maybe you can start by describing what you're doing at this moment. I'm listening to a story. I'm learning something new. Every time you listen, your brain builds connections. The sentences, the rhythm, the patterns, they slowly become part of you. You might not see it, but progress is happening quietly, like a seed growing under the soil. And one day, you'll wake up and realize, I can speak without thinking. That's when you'll know your habit has become a part of your identity. Because the truth is, English is not just a language. It's a lifestyle. It's how you see the world, how you express your thoughts, how you connect with others. And it all begins with one small action, one sentence, one line, one listening moment. The next morning, Alex received a message from Sarah. Hey, I'm joining a speaking club on Saturday. Want to come? He hesitated. The old Alex would have said no, but the new Alex smiled and replied, Yes, I'll be there. That weekend, something magical happened again. Part 4. The Secret Habit That Changed My Life. English Story Listening Practice. Saturday morning came. The city was just waking up, and the sun was painting the sky in soft shades of orange and gold. Alex dressed neatly, grabbed his notebook, and took a deep breath before leaving home. His heart was beating faster than usual. This was his first time joining an English-speaking club. The cafe where the club met was cozy, filled with warm light and the smell of freshly brewed coffee. About 10 people were sitting in a circle, chatting and laughing in English. Sarah waved at him. Alex, you made it. He smiled nervously. Yeah, first time. Don't worry, she said with a friendly grin. We all started somewhere. Just relax, listen, and speak when you can. The group leader, a cheerful woman named Maria, stood up and said, Today we'll start with introductions. Tell us your name, what you do, and one small habit that has helped you grow recently. One by one, people shared their stories. A student talked about reading one English page a day. A software engineer said he watched English movies without subtitles. A homemaker mentioned she practiced English songs while cooking. Then it was Alex's turn. He felt his throat tighten, but he remembered his journal. He looked around and said slowly, Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I work in an office and my small habit is writing 3 lines in English every night before sleeping. There was a short pause, then smiles, nods, and even a few claps. Maria said warmly, That's a wonderful habit, Alex. Small steps every day. That's the real secret. Alex's confidence grew. He spoke a few more sentences. They weren't perfect, but he didn't care. The fear that once stopped him was fading away. After the session, he stayed behind, talking with a few members. One of them, a traveler from Spain, said, You speak clearly, my friend. Keep it up. That simple compliment stayed in Alex's heart. Walking home that evening, he realized something powerful. Language was not about perfection. It was about connection. That night, his journal entry said, I spoke to new people in English. It wasn't easy, but it felt right. Over the next few weeks, Alex started attending the club regularly. Every session felt like a small adventure. He learned new idioms, expressions, and stories from people around the world. He noticed how English wasn't just words. It was emotion, culture, and personality. When people laughed, paused, or used gestures, he understood their feelings even before their words finished. This new world of understanding made him feel alive. But one evening, something unexpected happened. Maria, the club leader, announced, "Next week, we'll have a storytelling session. Each of you will share a short story in English. It can be true or imaginary." Alex froze. A story? In English? In front of everyone? All his old fears returned. He wanted to skip the next meeting. But then he opened his journal. The very first page stared back at him. The night he started his habit. He read his first line again. "Today I wrote 3 lines in English. I hope I can keep going." He smiled. He had come too far to stop now. So he began to prepare. He didn't write a big story, just a small one. It was about his journey with this tiny habit, how it started and how it changed him. He practiced every night, reading aloud softly. He corrected his pronunciation, added pauses, and even smiled while speaking to his mirror. Saturday came again. The cafe buzzed with excitement. Everyone was ready for their stories. When it was Alex's turn, his hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. He began, "A year ago, I couldn't speak even one full sentence in English. I was scared of making mistakes. But one night, I started a small habit, writing just 3 lines about my day." As he spoke, people leaned forward, listening. He shared how he understood songs, how he spoke at work, how he joined the club, and how small steps made big changes. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then came warm applause. Maria said softly, "That was beautiful, Alex. Your story will inspire many learners." For the first time, Alex didn't just feel proud. He felt grateful. After the session, Sarah patted his shoulder and said, "You see, one tiny habit really changed your life." He nodded, smiling. Yes, it really did. That night he wrote in his journal again, the same habit that started it all. "I shared my story in English today. It felt real. It felt like me." He looked at his words and realized that what began as a small practice had become his strength. From that day, Alex no longer saw English as a subject or a skill. It was a bridge, a way to connect with people, ideas, and even himself. So if you're listening now, remember, you don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to start to become perfect. Even one sentence spoken daily, one page read, one line written, they all matter. Because English is not learned in a day. It's built like a story, one word at a time, one habit at a time. And your story begins now. Close your eyes and repeat quietly, "I can learn, I can grow, I can speak." Then open your eyes and say your first sentence in English, today. Part 5. The secret habit that changed my life. English story. Listening practice. Months passed and Alex's life began to feel like a new chapter. One written not just in words, but in confidence. His small English habit had quietly reshaped everything. His mornings felt brighter, his conversations deeper, and his dreams bigger. He didn't chase perfection anymore. He chased progress. One day, his manager called him into the office. "Alex," she said, "we're planning to send someone to represent our team at an international meeting next month. You've improved a lot in communication lately. Would you be interested?" Alex froze for a second. Him? The person who once struggled to say even a few words in English? He took a deep breath and said, "Yes, I'd love to." That night, he wrote in his journal again, "I said yes to something I once thought impossible." From that moment, his evenings became filled with preparation. He listened to English podcasts, practiced small speeches, and recorded his voice to improve his pronunciation. He even used his walks to rehearse sentences out loud, whispering, imagining the real moment. At first, he stumbled. Some words felt heavy on his tongue, but each day his voice grew clearer, his tone more confident. One evening, while practicing, he realized something. The fear that once made him hesitate was now replaced by curiosity. He wanted to know more words, more expressions, more ways to connect. English wasn't just a habit anymore. It had become a passion. A few weeks later, the day of the meeting arrived. The room was filled with professionals from different countries. People spoke fluently, their accents varied, but their purpose was the same: to communicate. When it was Alex's turn, his hands felt slightly cold. He looked at his notes, then looked up and smiled. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm here to share our project updates." The words flowed naturally, not fast, not perfect, but calm, clear, and confident. As he spoke, he noticed people nodding. They were listening, truly listening. After his presentation, one of the guests came up to him and said, "Your English is simple and natural. I really understood everything you said. Great job." Alex smiled. "Thank you," he said, feeling warmth in his heart. That night, when he came home, he didn't even need to write much. He simply opened his journal and wrote one line. "I did it." He sat back, looked around his room, and realized that nothing outside had changed. But inside, everything was different. He thought about the nights he wanted to give up, the times he felt stuck, and the moments he doubted himself. But now, all those small steps made sense. He whispered to himself, "This is what happens when you keep showing up." Alex's story soon began to inspire others in his office. One of his colleagues, Ria, asked him during lunch, "How did you become so confident in English? Did you take classes?" He smiled and said, "Not really. I just started writing 3 lines a day, and I never stopped." Ria laughed. That's it, Alex said. "Small steps every day. That's how you build something big." She nodded slowly, thinking about it. "Maybe I'll try that too." And just like that, the habit spread, one person to another. A few days later, Alex walked through the park where he used to sit alone months ago. The same bench, the same trees, but a different version of him. He remembered how lost he felt back then, struggling with words. Now, those same words had become his wings. He sat down, opened his notebook, and began to write again. But this time, his words weren't about learning. They were about gratitude. "I used to think English was difficult," he wrote, "but now I understand. The difficulty wasn't in the language, it was in my mindset." He paused, looked at the sky, and continued writing. The secret habit wasn't just about language. It was about discipline, belief, and patience. It taught me that real change starts small. One line, one word, one step. He smiled and added, "I'm not perfect, but I'm proud of my journey." For those listening now, Alex would tell you this. Your journey doesn't have to look like someone else's. Maybe your progress is slow. Maybe you still struggle with pronunciation or grammar or confidence. That's okay. Every learner starts from the same place, the beginning. But what matters is that you start and you keep going. Every time you listen to a story like this, your brain learns something. Every time you repeat a sentence, your tongue becomes stronger. Every time you understand a word, you grow silently. So, take a deep breath and say it with me. I'm learning every day. I'm getting better. I will not stop. Remember, English is not about big lessons. It's about tiny moments. The moment you choose to listen instead of scroll, to speak instead of stay silent, to write instead of wait. Each of these choices builds your future. And one day, just like Alex, you'll look back and realize the habit that started small became the habit that changed your life. Part 6. The secret habit that changed my life. English story. Listening practice. Final part. Weeks passed since the big meeting, but its effect stayed with Alex. He was no longer the quiet guy who hid behind silence. He was someone who could express himself, share ideas, and connect with people in another language. His small habit had opened doors he never imagined possible. But the most beautiful thing was not the compliments or achievements. It was the quiet confidence he now carried inside. One Sunday morning, Alex sat in his favorite cafe, the same place where months ago he first realized he could understand an English song. The smell of coffee, the hum of soft music, and the sound of pages turning filled the air. He smiled as he opened his old notebook, now full of his thoughts, progress, and dreams, written in English. He turned the first few pages, noticing the shaky handwriting, the short sentences, the unsure tone. Then he looked at the last page, full, flowing, natural English sentences. Each word was a reminder of patience. Sarah entered the cafe and waved. "Hey, writer, still journaling?" He laughed. "Always. It's part of who I am now." She sat down. "You know, your story has inspired a lot of people at the club. Maria even mentioned starting a challenge, 3 lines a day, based on your idea." Alex's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," Sarah smiled. "Your small habit is now helping others start theirs." For a moment, Alex couldn't speak. He looked out the window and thought about how one small action had rippled into so many lives. He whispered softly, "I guess that's how change works. Quietly, one person at a time." Then Sarah said something that made him pause. "You know, when you began, you just wanted to improve your English. But maybe this habit taught you something deeper, how to believe in yourself." Alex nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think it did." He realized that learning English had given him more than just language skills. It had taught him patience, focus, and resilience. It showed him that consistency was stronger than motivation, that progress isn't loud, it's silent, steady, and powerful. He looked back at his notebook and whispered a line that felt like the truth of his entire journey. "A single habit can rewrite your story." Later that evening, he decided to record a message for other learners in the English-speaking club, a short speech he planned to post online. He sat by his desk, placed his phone on a small stand, and pressed record. "Hi everyone," he began, smiling gently. "I'm Alex, and I want to share a small truth I've learned. A year ago, I was afraid to speak English. I thought I wasn't good enough, but I started writing 3 lines a day. Just 3. I didn't know it would change everything, because when you do something small every day, your brain starts believing that you can. And that belief, not grammar, not vocabulary, is what makes you fluent." He continued, "Don't worry about mistakes. Don't wait for motivation. Just begin. Maybe today you can write 3 lines about your day, or listen to a story, or describe the world around you in English. These small steps matter more than you think." He smiled and ended the video with a simple message. "If one habit can change my life, it can change yours too. Start small, stay consistent, and remember, the secret habit that changes your English might just change your life." He clicked stop. Then he sat quietly, feeling peaceful. It wasn't just about English anymore. It was about growth, personal, emotional, and human. Days later, the video was shared by members of the club, then by their friends, then by others who needed encouragement. Comments began to appear. "I'm starting today. This story gave me hope. Thank you for reminding me that progress can be small." Alex read each comment with a soft smile. His words, once broken and unsure, were now helping others believe in their own voices. That night, his final journal entry for the year read, "This habit taught me patience, confidence, and peace. English was the bridge, but belief was the destination. I'm proud of the person I've become." He closed the notebook, turned off the light, and looked out the window at the quiet city below. The stars were scattered across the sky, shining like the words he had once feared to speak. He whispered one last line before sleeping, a line meant for every learner, dreamer, and believer. Start small. Keep going. Your habit will take you farther than your fear ever could. And with that, Alex drifted into sleep, peaceful, proud, and ready for whatever stories life would bring next. The end. You've just listened to The Secret Habit That Changed My Life. Now it's your turn. Pick one small English habit today. Maybe listening to a story like this daily, writing 3 lines, or describing what you see around you. Do it consistently and watch how slowly, quietly, beautifully, your life begins to change. Thank you for listening. Keep learning, keep believing, and remember, one small habit can truly change everything.